part of building wealth is also protecting our wealth. And we all have properties as part of our investments. And recently, so yesterday, December 10 in the evening, there was a fire very near my home. I live in Mont Kiara, and this is our community. And of course, with the recent fires that happened in Hong Kong, which was very fatal, we are all very scared because in Mont Kiara, we have a lot of buildings all side by side. And last night, when the fire broke out, the first thing that was in the minds of a lot of people was, of course, the Hong Kong fire.
Yep.
And I think it took them more than an hour or two to put out the fire. And
Okay.
as of this morning, they reported one fatality. So
Right.
today I wanted to speak to Brian Su, who is the Chief Innovation Officer of Firefighting Industry Senior Berhad and also a youth committee of the Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers. So, hi, Brian. Thank you so much for joining us. And I just wanted to know from your perspective, what are the things that people like myself, we are midlife, we bought a property, we want to protect our wealth, and we also want to protect our family. And this happened last night. What are the things that we could do to make sure that we could, put out the fire and try to mitigate from having this massive thing that just happened in Mont Kiara?
Yeah. Anyway, thanks, Annabelle, for having me. Yeah, I think yes, you're right. Recently, there has been a lot of fires that I guess coming out from the news, but actually there are a lot of fires that happen every day, but a lot of times it's smaller and not so front facing, like the one just last night. For fire safety, there's only two things that you actually need to know. One of it is the knowledge, and the second one is equipment. A lot of times people don't realize fire extinguishers are the first aid kit to fire safety. Let's say if a fire starts in front of you, a fire extinguisher most of the time will be able to put it out. But a lot of times people don't realize there are fire extinguishers everywhere, right? They're usually in the behind the scenes, they're in the corners. In condos, all condos would have a fire extinguisher outside of their unit. And for the newer properties in KL and some other states, there will be one unit provided by the developers inside the unit. A lot of people don't know because to most people, fire extinguishers are an eyesore. They would like to hide it as much as possible until something happens. So while you have the equipment, knowledge is usually something that people don't really have of fire safety. Most of them will be like, it won't happen to me. And it's very common in fires that happen in condos especially. First thing you should do whenever anyone sees a fire, whatever it is, small or big, just call the bomba. Call our fire services. Because even though if the fire is put out by that person itself, let's say that condo, if it manages to put out, it may reignite. Because fire has internal heat, and especially wood fire, even if it looks like it's put out, it may reignite because there's heat inside. First thing first, always call the bomba, even if you put it out yourself.
I see. And for fire equipment, such as fire extinguishers. So after the news, we all got scared. Of course, we also purchased and tried to renew and make sure that our old fire extinguishers are still good and valid. Maybe you could share what is the expiry date so that everybody who's listening knows that, oh my gosh, you have one, but it's in fact expired.
Yeah, so the most common first aid kit of a fire safety is the fire extinguisher, but there are also other products that will save you in a fire. So actually for fires, the one thing that kills people is not the fire, but it's actually the smoke. So smoke detectors are really important, and especially in condos, smoke detectors are present, but usually in common areas and not in the unit itself. Condos actually also have hose reels and sprinkler systems, but sometimes it may not be properly maintained. And sometimes, even when the first responders, the bomba, arrive at scene and they realize that it may not be working, and that could be an issue if the fire...
I believe that was what happened yesterday. I just saw someone posting about it. I'm not sure if that's indeed what happened. They had to pump the water not from the condo itself because it wasn't working.
Yeah, so that is very common, especially when you live in a condo where let's say a fire does happen to your neighbor, it may affect you because fire spreads really, really quickly. And going back to your question on the expiry date of fire extinguishers, most importantly, so in a fire extinguisher, it's usually red in color like this, and these are the bomba and cerium approved ones. So it's really important for commercial use to make sure that there is that bomba and cerium approval, and to check if it's expired or not. For businesses, you do have to actually get it serviced every year by competent people, and then the bomba would actually verify that and would give you a bomba license sticker to verify that it's been checked. So for home users, like yourself, you need to check the pressure meter gauge like this, and to make sure that the needle is pointing in the green zone.
I see. Okay. This is new to me. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So
And
usually the main point of failure of fire extinguishers is actually the pressure of the extinguisher. So you just got to
I,
make sure that it's pressurized.
I see. So the green has to be at the 0 level.
The meter,
Yes,
the
there's a
needle,
meter. Yeah.
the needle has to point at the green zone.
At the green zone. Okay, so the needle has to point at the green zone to know that the pressure is still pretty good inside the fire extinguisher.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and so for example, for a person like me, I'm aware I do have a fire extinguisher, but to be honest, I've never sprayed one, I've never turned on one. What
Yeah.
would be your advice to condos? And of course, it's not just me. Most of the time, my helper is at home. And just like the fires in Hong Kong, helpers were taking care of elderlies and babies.
Yeah.
What do you suggest that people should do?
Yeah, so a lot of people have never ever touched a fire extinguisher before. I believe most people have at least seen it once during their schooling days, but sometimes it's been too long from then. So the most common thing that people would do is request for a fire safety training, either from a bomba or companies, fire safety companies like ourselves. We do community events, a lot of times to condo homeowners and also housing communities in Malaysia, where we would not just show the demo, but also share what are some tips and tricks if a fire does happen and a fire does break out in your neighborhood or in your home.
If you do that, is that free of charge or is that something that's chargeable for you, from your company?
Usually for communities like homes, we do have it free of charge, but usually for MNCs or companies, we have a charge for them because usually it's part of their fire safety day or fire safety week.
Yes. And when you say you have this briefing, does it mean that, let's just say I invited you to our condo and that's going to be done? Will we get to kind of either understand the thing, hold it, and maybe even spray it, for example?
Yes. I think one thing that a lot of people are afraid of is using or touching fire safety products because they're afraid that it may break, it may burst, and that's where we come in to actually allow you to put out a real fire. We usually would start out a fire in an open space, most of the time in an open parking lot or a garden, where we would start a fire and allow for some residents to put out the fire.
What's one story in the past that you have been, that has always hounded or is in your memory? Maybe perhaps it's a good story or a bad story, but do share it with us.
So a lot of times, it's sad. We actually get a lot of people coming to us, buying the fire safety equipment after they've heard of a story. There is one, our office is in Petaling Jaya, and there was a neighborhood that came to us to have to buy a bulk order. And we were asking him, why are you suddenly buying so many fire extinguishers? And he said that it's not for him, it's for his community. He became that leader to buy for the whole community and also to procure training services from us because a few days before he came over, one of his neighbors actually was stuck in a fire and couldn't get out on time. Because a lot of homes, for safety and security purposes, they have those metal grills. And the metal grills is usually with the padlock. And a lot of times, those keys is so secure that they would hide it somewhere. But it's good for robbers and security purposes, but not good for an emergency like fire. And Bomba has actually shared with us a lot of times when they do the forensic reach out after the fire.
Yeah.
A lot of these people are on the way out and right in front of the gate. Yeah, and that has been multiple stories that we've been heard from neighbors of these people.
I see. So yeah, I do worry about security locks and grills. I do understand they do it because of theft, because of safety, but then in times like this, it becomes a barrier to escaping.
Correct.
Okay.
So one of the products that we have is actually an emergency key box where the key can be placed behind a very easily breakable glass that's placed right next to the exit. That's a very, very simple product for a very complicated problem. And most people just don't realize it, that's so important when that's an emergency.
Yes. And I saw in one of your LinkedIn posts that the Bomba was using something like electric, something. It was a blanket that was used over an electric car. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's funny to say, but there's actually new types of fires these days. Fires are, since the caveman days, but there are new types of fires, such as EV fire and also solar panel fires. So for EV related fires or lithium battery fires, it's very different. The whole mindset of like, if you see a fire happening in front of you, you can try to put out a fire. For EV related fires, do not try at all. So there was a case in if I'm not mistaken, in Korea, where about 20 people died from in a lithium battery factory. Because in their mindset, they would think that, okay, fire just happened in front of me. Let me use a fire extinguisher to put it out. Lithium fires will not be put out using a fire extinguisher because it's a chemical fire where it's a self-sustaining fire. So lithium battery fires or EV car fires, right? Once it reaches what we call a thermal runaway point, and usually it's about 120 degrees, the fire will keep on going. It'll keep going until it fully burns out. So what the EV fire blanket, which is actually now regulated, and all EV charging stations, public charging stations, will have one blanket. The blanket is 6 by 8 meters big, so it can cover the whole car.
Okay.
The whole goal of this blanket is not to put out the fire, but to suppress the fire from spreading to other cars, or worse, the building itself. Because there are cases where an EV car actually burned down a whole building and the whole structure just fell.
Is that in Malaysia?
It wasn't in Malaysia. Thankfully, it was not in
Okay.
Malaysia. But we've learned from that, and our fire safety services and regulators realize how important it is.
Yes, and I believe not only we have EV fires as well as condo, there has been more and more incidents of fire coming out from our battery chargers, the one that we use for battery packs that we bring with us for our mobile phones.
Exactly, yeah. So just early this year, there was one incident of Air Busan where a whole plane was burned down because of one power bank.
Power
Luckily,
bank.
this happened when the plane was grounded. Everyone was safe, everyone was evacuated, but one power bank that was in the overhead compartment completely burned down the whole plane.
So a lot of fire hazards, more and more. I know that in a home, we cannot avoid having curtains and beds and everything. But now it's compounded by the fact that we have EV cars, we do have power banks, we do have more electronic items. We plug our phones, our
Yes.
iPads, our laptops, our Wi-Fi routers. There's more and more items, and more important that we have fire extinguishers and other items at home. For a typical home, let's just say in Mont Kiara, typically it would be a 1,000 to maybe 2,500 square feet. We're talking about a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom and maybe a 4-bedroom condo. How many should they be having, and where should they be placing it?
Right. Yes. Yeah. So, in a common household, the most important places to have fire safety is where a fire might potentially start. Kitchen is the highest point
Number
since
one
it's
is
dealing with
that.
fire. Yeah. So for a kitchen fire, it's also a very different fire because usually it's considered an oil fire. So oil fire, while fire extinguishers may be able to put it out, but the most efficient way is to actually choke the fire using a fire blanket. So a smaller version of the EV fire blanket, and is to be placed close to the source of fire, which is your stove, but not so close that if a fire does happen, you cannot reach it. Yeah, so it cannot be right next to it. It has to be close enough so you can use it. Second is actually where most of electronics are at, and that's usually the living room or even the bedroom. So bedroom is really important because at night, where most fires actually happen, just like last night as well, right? It was in the night time. The bedroom is where usually people are at, and the fire extinguisher is not used to put out a fire, but it's to actually to pave a way out of your bedroom and out of your unit. So you can use a fire extinguisher to pave your way out, and a fire blanket in a room too, because a fire blanket can be used to cover yourself to escape.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, whatever you just said, my husband bought it months ago and we have it in our kitchen. But you are right, we don't have it in our bedroom. And perhaps that's something that we should consider. And how small is the smallest fire extinguisher? So that I'm sure there's some cute ones that are
Yeah.
easy and light.
We do have a 1 kilogram one. We actually have it in different colors as well because we realize a lot of people don't buy it because it doesn't look eye pleasing to them. So we actually have white color fire extinguishers that are customized as well.
Oh, it's just like an Apple product. That is so beautiful.
We have a Christmas edition that just launched, and we have a wine fire extinguisher where you can customize your name as well. We are doing this because we realize people don't like the red color sometimes, and
Yes,
people
it's
hide it with
glaring. It's
exactly.
glaring, and it's like right there you've got a minimalist home, and then suddenly a big red item is just jutting out.
Exactly. It's good for public spaces because let's say you go to a mall, you don't know where the fire extinguishers are. You need to
And
be
you
able to
can
spot it.
see. Yeah.
You can see, yeah, correct. But for homes, you live in a home, you know where you place the items most of the time. So that's why we came out with more aesthetic ones like this. We have matte black and matte white. We can customize it in your name. And that has been quite popular for more aesthetic homes, right? Where the colors are more muted.
That is a wonderful gift to homeowners in case they don't know what else to buy? And what is the price range so that people will understand what are the price ranges of fire extinguishers?
Yeah, so it's actually quite interesting now because a lot of people are selling fire extinguishers. A lot of them are not tested and are not certified. So there are some that are as low as 7 ringgit, but these ones, so we actually tested this, right? The 7 ringgit ones are usually water-based fire extinguishers. Water-based fire extinguishers and they're aerosol. So they're like the hairspray where the pressure may drop over time and there's no way to check it because there's no gauge. There's no pressure gauge. These ones we actually tested on an oil fire. It actually made the oil fire bigger because it's water based. Water with oil actually is hydrophobic, right? So it caused the fire to be bigger. So a fire extinguisher that's cheap and water based actually makes the fire bigger. So in terms of price range, most importantly is to check if it's certified and tested. It should range around 50 ringgit for the common red ones. And for the customized ones, it would be around the 100 ringgit.
Okay, so 50 to 100. Other than the amount, if you see something so below, it's suspicious. And is there a seal? Is there something that they should be looking for to know that this is a legit product that is by a legitimate company and also in a way approved by the bomba?
Yeah, so for the common red color fire extinguishers, it's important to check for the bomba and cerium tag, which is usually on the body itself, like this.
Okay,
Yeah,
bomba and cerium tag. Okay.
bomba and cerium approved. And for customized ones, it's important to get it from reputable companies that have been around for some time, such as us. We've been around for 51 years. And of course, a physical presence, like a company with physical presence would help if you need any servicing or after sales service.
Yes. And last question, which is very relevant to a lot of people, inclusive of myself. We have an old one. We didn't want to get rid of it, but we didn't know where to kind of throw it. And I don't think Wanutama or these recycle areas will be accepting an old fire extinguisher. How do we dispose of it properly?
Yeah, so for a common user, you have to pass it to a competent company or person, usually a fire safety company, and they would know what to do with it. So you can just pass it to us. We're in PJ, not too far from yourself and Central. So we can deal with it.
I see. So your office accepts old fire extinguishers.
Yes, because in commercial, so businesses, the fire stations have to be disposed after 10 years anyway. So we
Yes.
deal with that.
I see. Okay. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge and all this information. It's very timely, and we want to avoid more fires, especially as these are, protection of life, protection of wealth, and just by knowing perhaps it could save another life. Thank you so much, Brian, for joining us and helping us do more to protect our homes.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Annabelle.
Thank you.